let's talk about whales. Not Wales the country, whales the mammals. Watched a documentary, I think it was on Netflix, and it was about the Straits of Gibraltar. The Straits of Gibraltar are having a massive problem at the moment, literally a massive problem. The orcas, the killer whales, are attacking boats. And in the past few years, it only started in COVID. It was symptomatic of the COVID epidemic. And it started in COVID, so it started in 2020. And since then, whales, this particular pod of whales, have attacked something like 900 boats. People have been killed, boats have been capsized. Mostly they just damage the boats. What they do is they come in and they take the rudder off and mess with the propellers and things like that. So there's all these different theories. Now, from what I can gather, there's two things that they do. They come and they dismantle the boat, and they think that's playing. They think they're actually bored, and they're just playing with the boats. They've become so interactive with human beings that they just want to play with them. So they capsize the boats to tip the humans out, and they dismantle the boats just because they're playing. However, there is another thing they do, and they do a two-pronged attack where they come in from either side, two of them, and they torpedo the boat. And that is pure aggression. So they've got all these different theories. But apparently, these orcas are so playful. And they were making reference to another pod in Alaska. And when the salmon come through for the spawning, one orca did a really weird thing. It put a salmon on its head and swam around with this salmon on its head, great big salmon on its head all day long. And they learn interactively. So soon there was a whole pod of hundreds of these orcas, or several pods that had come together. You know, one pod had seen another pod, and oh, look at him with a salmon on his head. I want a salmon on my head. So the second pod would get salmon on the head and swim around with salmon on the head all day. And then a third pod would see them, oh, I want, and suddenly all the orcas in Alaska, or some of the orcas in Alaska, were wearing salmon on their heads for fun. They were playing, and fashion statement or whatever, they were swimming about with these salmon on their head. So the point of the video, the documentary, was that it's all learned behaviour. They pass it down through the generations, and much as we teach our children, the whales teach their children, the primates teach theirs, and a lot of it is play apparently. But they were also saying the ecological effects. There is so much traffic in the Straits of Gibraltar at the moment. In COVID, everything went quiet, obviously. So all the noise, all the traffic, all the sonar died down, and the whales became very playful. Since COVID finished and the shipping lanes have opened, the Straits of Gibraltar have a large tanker-sized vessel going through them every 5 minutes. Now, I don't know if that's every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day. I presume it is. Or whether that's an average of every 5 minutes. But apparently every 5 minutes, a large vessel goes through the Straits of Gibraltar. And the sonar is, or the noise, just the general noise they make, is messing with the whales' ability to communicate, because they communicate through sound under the water. And these waves of sound are stopping them from being able to feed. It's stopping them from being able to communicate. A lot of the whales are starving because of the sound of these ships, and that's without the pollution that is going into the sea and all the other ecological effects that are bothering them. And then they said, so they attributed part of this behaviour in the Straits of Gibraltar to playfulness and half of it to aggression at different pods. And the aggressive factor, they either think it's all the noise that is polluting them and making them aggressive, or they think there's a big old matriarch, because of course the whales, they've been putting transmitters on them and cameras on them and all kinds of things to track them. And there's a big old matriarch of one of the main pods, and she's called White Muriel or White Ruby or White Gladys or something, White something. And certain marine biologists think that she's called White Gladys or whatever she's called, White something, because of all the scars on her body that have left these white patches on her skin. And they think that it's due to her colliding with vessels, and that vessels have done it. And all this aggression in the pod is revenge. That the lower ranking mammals are taking revenge on vessels for what has happened to White Gladys. Isn't that fascinating? But another marine biologist says that's absolute rubbish, and that she's got all these scars through mating, because when they're mating, they have a very sharp fin, a sharp something that they rub up and down the female's skin, and over the years all this abrasion has caused the scarring down one side. So it was a fascinating documentary it was actually about this vessel damage in the Straits of Gibraltar, but it was more about the fascinating habits of whales. They're so intelligent. They share 95% of our DNA. They are the third most intelligent animal on the planet, apparently. Now, I thought dolphins were more intelligent than whales. Apparently not. And it was just really fascinating. I think it's on Netflix. Don't know what it was called, because I didn't actually catch the beginning of it. Mark was watching it and I came in and caught it part way through. But I thought it was worth a chat because it was really interesting. So track it down, see if you can find it, have a watch, come and tell me what you think. Thank you very much. Nice chat.